We're on.
All right,
It's
John.
happening. How are you, Kurt Schneider?
I am very good. As a therapist would say, I'm in a good place these days, John.
Are you seeing? Oh, that's great. It's good to be in a good place. I'm tempted to ask you what constitutes a good place, but that would probably take up a lot of time, and you're not lying down.
No, I think just mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, I'm in a,
That it? All four of those?
yeah. I think physically I could be a little better, but I think mentally I'm sharp. Emotionally, I'm happy. Spiritually, I'm actually calm. And physically, I'm a little broken, but I'm getting there.
You said you're hitting on all four. So in horse racing and other betting, that would be a quinella, right?
Trifecta plus one, John.
Quinella is when you get the first two in either order, right? No, a quinella is not five.
I don't know. I'm not a horse racer.
I
Better.
used to go to the track with my dad when I was a kid. A quinella, you have an exacta where you get the first two in order. I think a quinella might be the first two, but it doesn't have to be in order, so it doesn't pay out as much. Kurt, you know what today is? May. Kurt, we're in
Okay.
May.
All right.
And the other day was Mayday, which is sort of a celebration that has to do with the harvest and the spring and the flowers blooming and all sorts of festivals that go way back to pagan times. But I was thinking, the word Mayday, not for the holiday, but as a distress signal, a universal distress signal, where the heck did that come from? And as it turns out, it's got a cool story. Kurt, would you like to hear it?
Sure. And I bet you it has nothing to do with May Day.
It does not. It has nothing to do with the fact that May, the month, is part of the word at all.
And when I was a kid growing up in Tokyo, we celebrated May Day around the maypole. And we each had
Right.
like a colored thing we'd like walk around or something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of celebrations in May, largely because, as I mentioned, it's everything starting to bloom, and there's
Well,
a
in the northern hemisphere, John.
what's the full moon called in May? It's like a harvest moon or something. I guess it wouldn't be harvest because you haven't planted yet.
Nope.
Has to do with the flowering.
Okay.
Anyway, that is a big theme this time of year. Yet the term May Day ain't got nothing to do with any of that.
By the way, before you say that, go on. I know, but this is important because it's exactly what you're talking about. I saw the clips from the original pilot of Gilligan's Island the other day.
Really?
Yeah, and Marion and Ginger and the professor were played by different people. It was really bizarre.
No way.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
So what, but where did you come across that?
Instagram Reels, John.
And it was from the pilot, like the episode that aired on television,
I
or was it
guess, or it
like
was the unaired pilot, and it was had a song that was ridiculous.
it wasn't even the same song?
Nope.
This is the kind of stuff that you should send me.
I will.
You and I have a great love of all sorts of 1960s and 70s pop culture stuff.
Do you know we're not called Gen X, we're called Gen Jones or something like this? Did you know that?
No, why?
Because we're not boomers because that ended in 64, but
Or
we're
I'm
the
really
first year of
confused.
Gen X, but there's people born between like 1960 and 1970 or it's something in there or are called Gen Jones because
Never
we
heard of that. Was there
yeah.
something about my setup of my story that you found completely unappealing?
No, for some reason Mayday, what you were talking about made me think of Gilligan's Island.
Dios mío, Santa Maria. Ay, caramba. Okay. Do you want to hear where the international distress signal Mayday comes from, Kurt?
Yeah.
And okay. So it's from a French word,
Mhm.
which is M apostrophe AIDEZ, which is pronounced like Mayday. And it means help me. And in the 1920s, when radio communication was starting to proliferate,
Good
but
word.
radio wasn't so great then, it was very staticky and low fidelity. A radio officer was asked to come up with a universal distress call. The guy's name, Frederick Stanley Mockford. And he chose Mayday, said three times, Mayday, 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 because it is short, it is clear, and it is impossible to confuse. So it did a very good job audibly, vocally breaking through the noise of the static. Everybody could pronounce it, everybody could understand it. It was a simple phonetic Mayday, Mayday, and it's from the French word m'aider, which means help me, which means that even makes sense too.
And we were lingua franca back then, so that makes sense
I don't know
too.
about the 1920s there, Kurt. When did lingua franca stop being lingua franca?
WW2, baby.
So he didn't necessarily choose it because it meant help me in French, because it was going to be used in a lot of language. It was just its audio qualities that made it so.
And I'm sure he picked it up because of lingua franca, and but then that's very interesting, and had to not be confused with anything else. So
It just it
help
cuts
me.
through the noise. It's very hard to mishear over radio static. That's why it was chosen.
So let me try this. Help me. You're right. That wouldn't be good. But
Oh.
Mayday. Got it.
And you spent a lot of time in London. You mentioned the Maypole and all that other kind of stuff. The neighborhood Mayfair. Do you know its origin?
No, you're going to tell me.
So there was actually a fair,
This is a
the
hell of a
May
rabbit
Fair.
hole you went down. I love it.
But basically the fair got so rowdy that it got shut down. I mean, there was all sorts of drunkenness and fighting and chaos and gambling that they ultimately stopped the fair itself, but the place was um, still was called Mayfair. And when you consider that it was this place of delinquency, and now it's probably one of the most expensive and luxurious streets in London, it's come a
Neighborhood.
long way, baby.
Yeah, neighborhood. Well, and in the world, one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the world. But was this fair only during May?
Yes,
Oh,
there was a real fair in May, or a real May fair. Would you like to discuss Cinco de Mayo?
sure.
So most people who know about Cinco de Mayo mostly are Americans. It's a giant American holiday, an excuse to celebrate some Tuesday in May. It is not Mexican Independence Day, which many people believe.
It's not always on Tuesday, John.
I know, but I think the original battle that that the Mexicans won against all odds against the French, it was the Battle of Puebla. It was a single battle in the war. It was not this decisive. Anyway, it is celebrated, but it is not. It is not Independence Day in Mexico. It's actually September 16th. But um, it's just a much bigger cultural celebration in the U.S. than Mexico. It's basically an excuse to drink beer and have a party and do so. It's not. What's hysterical about it is it's not a holiday in Mexico.
Well, what's even almost as funny about that, and you'll appreciate this because marketing, you're a marketing guy. So Coca Cola in Los Angeles about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, jumped on it and made a whole Cinco de Mayo thing. And it went gangbusters because there's a lot of Mexicans in Southern California, and everyone loved it because they did. Mexicans since claimed it as their own now, especially Mexican Americans, and they went crazy about this party. So some really super smart guys marketing in Atlanta and Coke said, "Well, if this worked in Los Angeles, let's do it in New York. It's got to work there." And they did a huge Cinco de Mayo celebration in New York, and it bombed. Do you know why, John?
Really? Why did it bomb?
Because the Hispanic population in New York are Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. They have
Oh, not.
nothing to do with Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, so the Battle of Puebla, and then we'll move on to our topic, was May 5th. That part isn't surprising. 1862. And that day was a Tuesday, Kurt. So don't start getting it confused with Taco Tuesday, though. Nothing to do with it.
May the 5th be with
Battle
you.
was a Tuesday.
May the 5th be with you.
Right. I think that would be May the 4th. This is a big week with May Day, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you for Star Wars folks. the fake holiday we've invented in America that's actually Mexican, that's not celebrated by the Mexicans. It's like the Canadians having a giant party like on September 14th because they're remembering some isolated historic battle that the Americans won.
But sometimes it is done for a reason to try to get some national or tribal or whatever pride. So, same thing with Hanukkah, John.
Which
Hanukkah didn't exist. It didn't exist. It was, oh, some oil didn't go out. But what happened was,
was a miracle, not some oil didn't go out. A miracle.
okay, but the miracle was about oil not going out. In fact, Jon Stewart does the most hysterical thing about this. He's like, Jews, we got to get on our game. We're getting killed here like we got destroyed in December. They're talking about, Santa coming down and giving gifts. And what do? We thought that anyway. It was very. Oh no, he was doing Easter and Seder. That's what it was. But anyway, Hanukkah. What happened was in like the 1920s, the Reformed Jews, most of them were in Cincinnati then, were saying, we're getting our asses kicked here. All these Christmas has become this big thing, and it's getting these Christian kids interested in religion, quasi so, but something around this time. What can we do? What do we have in December? And all the scholars went and looked up, and they're like, well, there was this thing where oil didn't go out for 8 days in December.
Okay.
Good,
I don't
done.
think they went searching for an excuse. You know what? You are a very bright person who has studied history. I've never mistaken you for a Talmudic scholar, Kurt.
It wasn't Talmudic. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, listen. We were talking about May. You brought up December, which is decidedly off topic. So my guess is you're going to announce some sort of May to December romance. Are you dating someone with a substantial age gap to yours?
No.
All right, you just wanted to talk about December.
Yeah. Well, because no, I was talking about holidays that were sort of crafted, and that's where I got to.
Listen, I don't think there's any question that Cinco de Mayo in America is a pure commercial sales grab.
What
Do
about
you have any
Arbor Day?
doubt?
What about Arbor Day?
I don't think it's quite risen to the level of it being a national phenomenon that is worthy of anyone wanting to claim credit for it.
Mother's
Flag
Day?
Day? What's that?
Mother's Day.
That's got to be a whole. Well, I think the concept of celebrating mothers and motherhood no doubt goes back a long, long time.
But Mother's Day as a holiday was not done until the late 19th century. There was a woman who was unbelievably steadfast in her petitioning the government to make it a holiday. Funnily enough, about 5 years after it got accepted because of all her work, she completely abandoned it and went against it because she saw how commercial it became right away.
Her name was Anna Jarvis. She organized the first official Mother's Day in West Virginia in 1908. President Woodrow Wilson in 1914 made it a national holiday, the second Sunday in May. But she did hate the commercialization, and her original idea was some sort of deeply personal, handwritten, heartfelt day. But this is America, Kurt.
Right. When you could turn something into making a buck, you do.
Yes, our Constitution must contain some sort of language that obligates us to overtly and overly commercialize any heartfelt anything to make a buck.
Well, the streets were paved with gold, John. I mean, when people came over here, they knew that this was an opportunity to immediately make money, and that's what people wanted to do. And they left things behind. They left poverty behind to try to make it big.
But
It's the American dream.
there's no question that every country has some sort of defining aspiration. So, I'm sure I'm not sure, but some countries want to return themselves, they want to build a theology. We clearly in this country want to get rich, make money.
So, someone sent me an article this morning I wanted to talk to you about today. And it's interesting because I thought about you and me, but I'll focus on you for a second. I've
You've
known
got
you.
my attention.
I've known you for a very long time. you are now over 60. In fact, you're 61. And I dare say, certainly in the time I've known you, you're in the best shape by far in the time that I've known you. You look the best. You're eating healthily. You're not drinking as much. You're watching again what you eat, what you drink. You're exercising. You're sleeping. You're really doing a great job, something you didn't do before. And interesting, right? You would agree with that.
I believe that I have put a lot more attention into these things over the last 10 years. Yes,
There
thank
was
you.
an article written by a man who's a millennial, and but it's the title was "Forget Health Span." You know, first there was lifespan, then there's health
Right.
span. Midlife men face pressure to extend hot span, and so basically, what this guy was saying, and he said in his own cohort, which are mid 40s gay men, he said we're like the canaries in a coal mine of trends. We're out there first, but he talks about. He says they looked at some guy in the gym. He's about 60 years old. He's got Tarzan muscles and a kind of six pack where you can see veins bulging. And a friend said, I hope I look good as he does at that age." And he said, "My God, I don't. When I'm 60, I want to rest. Sure, I'm possessed by the exercise demons now, but as I get closer to retirement, I don't want to be drilling myself to death at Barry's boot camp. I don't want to worry about what I eat. I want to be out of that game. I want to diminish and recede into the West." And he says, "Why are we doing this now? Because we finally got off the hamster wheels as we're nearing retirement. And now we were promised margaritas, not counting macros. Instead, we're going to have to stay hot for like several more decades." And he says Americans have become obsessed with longevity, extending not just our lifespan, but also our health span. And now we're all about extending our hot span. So, what do you think about that?
I think that anyone who's younger has never been older before and has no idea what his or her older self might want to do with their time. And he is this the quote is basically saying the motivations I have now to look good and stay healthy, to be hot, are not going to be my motivations in 30 years when I'm in my 60s. But he has no idea what his motivations will be in his 60s. He may have a different perspective on, look, you get one body. I mean, imagine if you got one car, you'd take pretty darn good care of it.
But where I took this and where the whole article goes is, I mean, women used to feel the pressure, right, to stay hot all the time because that was the society we were in. But men now, right? I mean, think about the word peptides. Had you ever even heard of
Right.
peptides 6 months ago?
Show me
No.
the rage.
So peptides, people or men are getting brow lifts and face lifts, and they're going to Istanbul to get hair
Yes,
plugs.
that is the international capital for hair replacement.
And I mean, there's men that get liposuction. So it used to be men were allowed to frump into old age. Women weren't. And now it's caught up to men, and men are doing all sorts of plastic surgery and all sorts of, we've been obsessed with this, all sorts of supplements, etc.
Look, I think clearly vanity in our culture has been brought to an entirely new level, and so has the me focus. So, when you and I were kids and we were watching an NFL game, someone scored a touchdown, they'd either drop the football or just hand it to the ref. Now they do some sort of highly specialized dance so they get a good video clip that hopefully goes viral on Instagram. So, and I think social media probably has a lot to do with it. We're able to publish a video reflection of a carefully edited video reflection of our lives. So I think the outlets for vanity and the pressures are probably unprecedented. But I
Well,
also I also wouldn't assume that everybody is eating healthy or working out for the same reasons. I do it not for the reasons that this gentleman talks about, but it makes me feel good, and
sure.
I would like to be healthy
So
as well,
beyond what he's saying about the
not
vanity
to
of it,
extend my lifespan.
but beyond the vanity of it, it is, if you think about it, it's a whole shift. Two things. Number one, when our grandparents were 61, were our age. I mean, I remember when my
We're
grandfather
old.
was 61. He was sitting in a folding chair on the lawn, right?
Yeah.
And he had never going to the gym when he was 61. Wouldn't my dad never went. Now my dad stayed healthy till the day he died, but these other guys, I mean, my grandfather would have never thought of going to the gym. So first of all, that's a shift, but that kind of makes sense. But the other thing, and this guy actually points it out in this article, which I found very interesting, the rise of the GLP-1 shot has taken the mask off of all these things because you can't hide that you just lost 40 pounds. And everyone knows you're doing it by shooting up vitamin O, right? Ozempic. And yet, so therefore, it's okay. Now, all right. Now, not only am I shooting up this to lose 20 pounds, which you saw, but now I'm taking peptides every morning. Now I'm taking collagen. Now I'm taking creatine. Now I'm doing this and that. And I'm getting a sauna and I'm getting infrared here and I'm getting a little tuck here. And it's all okay. It's not, it used to be like clandestine, right? And now it is open and out there.
Okay, I think even though we're massively complicated, I think the basics are probably pretty simple. And I think if you go back to, the biological, there's probably a biological basis, an evolutionary basis for all this. The better and stronger we look, the more appealing we are to others, the opposite sex in particular, the longer we stay in the tribe. But I also think there's just so much information out there. I mean, I don't know what the stats are, but the amount of information we consume in a day is probably akin to the amount of information someone in the 1600s consumed in their lifetime. So, and if someone says you can look better, feel better, be more attractive, whatever, we just can't resist. But we're bombarded with those messages now.
I was laughing because you talked about getting all these messages and information. But I'm laughing at one time you told me, you said, as I get older, I'm happy when things get canceled,
Yes, I
which
am.
is the opposite of our taking everything in. And I laugh every time like someone cancels on me and I do a little yoo-hoo. You're
Yeah,
right.
it's like you
We
won your
used to
tough back.
want to get there and remember the expression, I'm sure they called you this when we were young working out. You were called a meat eater. He's a meat eater. And now it's like, you know what? I'd like to take a nap because that meeting just got canceled. I'm very happy about that.
So when I get something canceled, I feel like I won something, like I won an hour back or something. And it's just like, what am I going to do with myself? But, I think what I found most interesting about the comments from that article is this notion that, did it say, I know he's a millennial, but some millennials are into their 40s now. Did it say how old this guy was?
45.
45. So he's already anticipating being in his 60s and being done with having to work so hard and try so hard. I have a hard time believing when he gets there, that's how he's going to feel about it.
Well, that's what the article says. That's what he thought, but now he realizes no, he's going to keep going.
I'll give you the counter argument because I don't know that we've got it right. Yeah, I do the things that you mentioned, and look, you exercise regularly and you are eating much better and taking better care of yourself in a bunch of ways. But, I lost my train of thought. But this
That
was
proves our point.
Well, here's the counter. I don't know that we have it right. So you go to the gym and you work hard for an hour or thereabouts. I
Thereabouts.
do the same thing, but I don't know that that's the right way. That's the best way to do it. There are other cultures out there where they eat when they want, they eat when they're hungry, as opposed to, our perpetual snacking. They go to sleep not at the same time every day and avoid their phone for 2 hours and have dark shades and get up at the same time so that their body's circadian rhythm gets, and then they go get sunshine in the first 30 minutes. I think a lot of other cultures, they just sleep when they're tired, eat when they're hungry, and they don't go to the gym to be active for 1 hour. They're active all day based on their lifestyle. So I think we are dramatically overproducing this being healthy thing, and I doubt we have it right.
Well, I have two thoughts on it. The first is I get served on whatever social media Tai Chi, 7 minute Tai Chi workout, chair workouts for men over 60. And these guys by day 28 have gone from fat dad bod to rip. Now I know it's social media, but anyway, 7 minutes a day. So that there's that, right? It's promising the quick and easy fix. But the other thing is, I have a friend. As you know, I had knee replacement surgery partial last fall, and I got into rehab and cranked it. I have a friend who had a hip replacement, and he decided after 2 weeks of doing physical therapy that it made it feel worse, and he stopped. I'm in pain all the time. He is not. I'm working out all the time. He does not. So maybe the joke is on us.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. Look, obviously, it's hard to compare a sample size of two and draw any conclusions, but I think we schedule time to be active after we sat in our chair or when we're about to sit in our chair for 8 to 10 hours. What about living a life where we were actually on the move most of the day, or at least standing most of the day? So I think our ridiculousness about I'm going to schedule being active for an hour when I go to the gym, or I'm going to schedule being active when I go for a run is better than just doing nothing. But it's a
But it's also a something that we had to do because we went from a outside working agrarian society to a sit on your ass society. So if you don't schedule it, you have to do it.
Yeah, but that's true that there has been an epic shift in, what industries drive the economy, and we are no doubt sitting more than ever. And there's, many people who believe that sitting is the new smoking and sitting is going to kill us and all that kind of stuff. But
Doesn't your watch tell you time to stand?
I don't, fortunately, it does not, and that would be very annoying.
Mine
But
does.
I sit on my ass most of the day at my desk staring at a screen, and that's just some messed up shit. I mean, there's nothing natural about how we spend our time.
So what
So,
ruined it, John?
what ruined what?
The ability, there's the natural, as you said, circadian rhythms and people walking and this and that. One thing ruined it. That's a callback to probably episode 54 of our Smart Drivel.
Well, this may shock you, but I don't recall episode 54, and I know you weren't being specific. What caused it, Kurt?
Sadly, what used to be my favorite beverage growing up, beer.
Do you think beer has led to our becoming an office-bound sedentary society? You're going to have to explain that, Kurt.
Okay. And I'll just, for those of you who don't remember that episode, I'll just tell you that we said that beer actually started civilization. And
And
that was our premise.
1,000 years ago.
And that's because of beer, people stopped roaming. They stopped walking and they stayed and were able to plant. They didn't have to keep moving because they saw that this beer worked in like a little like hoof, probably an old woolly mammoth footprint that filled with water and malt and barley, and the sun hit it, and some yeast fell in there, and it made beer. And all of a sudden they said, "Wait, we don't need to keep roaming. Let's stay right here." So they stayed because they loved the elixir that was beer. They stopped going walking, walking, walking. Then it became a social lubricant and they started procreating more and they stayed even more. And so beer actually encouraged you to stay. Think about Norm at Cheers. You know, what's going on,
Sure.
Norm? My two ass cheeks on a bar stool, right? Or what's going down? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's something underneath all of the Instagram get fit quick and pressure to go to the gym and pressure to look good. I, I think the underlying issue, and this
And
applies.
all those billionaires paying as much money as they can to find longevity cures,
Yeah,
living
I'm not.
forever.
Look, I think life will continue to get longer, like it has progressively over the centuries, as we get smarter about what's good for you and what's not good for you. We get smarter about interventions. Look, AI is going to allow us to find cures and therapies for things that were. So all of that has to.
Until the artificial intelligence turns on humankind and kills us all.
Yes, until the Armageddon event, we're going to continue to live longer. So if you're a billionaire, you can't spend all that money in this lifetime. So you might as well try to figure out how to buy the one thing you couldn't otherwise buy, which is tenure. But I think the underlying issue in our society is we live in chronic stress. So whether it's I mean, we're under enormous pressure. There's very little peace. There's very little
And that eats
solitude.
your body from the inside out.
That is much, listen, I think if we were to figure out how to alleviate some of the chronic stress people live under, that would be a lot more healthful and helpful than getting more sleep and eating healthier and going to the gym more.
Yeah, if I were a billionaire, I'd buy a shitload of Charleston chews and put them in my freezer.
I love those Charleston chews, but I only like, I mean, look, I like them all, but there's no question that the yellow one, the yellow wrapper
The
is the
original.
Charleston chew.
Original. Yeah.
Yeah, when you start getting chocolate and strawberry, I understand line extension, but
And
the
by the way,
reality, the
strawberry
quintessential Charleston chew,
and strawberry, they always try, right? They always go chocolate first and they try to do vanilla. Vanilla is usually the first. And then they're like, what can we do after chocolate? Let's go strawberry. And it never works.
it may have worked once, at least in my personal experience. It worked for me. Strawberry quick.
I knew you were going to say that because I was going to say that is the worst example. It was the worst thing I've ever
I,
tasted in my life.
now, strawberry quick was I.
Oh, drinking Pepto Bismol.
Yeah. Anyway, since you started this episode by mentioning that you're hitting on all four cylinders, quadraphonic over there. Listen,
Ooh,
qua-
quadrophenia.
exactly, little Roger Daltrey.
Pete Townsend.
We live under a perverse amount of stress because of our need to achieve and because of our looking at the next guy and because of all the messages we see online and because of the state of the world and because of the economy and making it more difficult and because of inflation and because of expectations. There is a struggle inside every single one of us, a resistance. We do things we don't want to do all the time. We do them because we have to in many cases. But continually going against what you really want to be doing, that resistance causes ongoing stress, chronic stress that is killing us and also making us quite unhappy.
We were driving out of the city today, and I said
We
to
and
my,
your much younger girlfriend, May to December.
and
Let me
I,
ask you a question. Is your girlfriend younger than you are?
yes,
Please don't comment on how much because we know the whole May to December theme.
she's not much younger. But
I,
anyway,
I said please. I said please.
all I'm going to tell you is I said to her, because we're talking about what we're going to do this afternoon, I said, I'm probably going to guilt myself into doing a Peloton.
And why is that?
But why is it that I have to guilt myself, right? It
Right.
shouldn't be a guilt yourself. And because the stress and the pressure is going to get into me. But you know what? Just to defy everyone, I'm not going to. And maybe I'll take a big hard pretzel and dip it into peanut butter and eat that, John.
Yeah. You know why you are going to live longer than average?
Why?
Because you understand the importance of social connections and you have a well above average number of social connections. And that has been proven repeatedly to be a key component of longevity. Loneliness, which there's an epidemic of in this country, it's documented how many years it takes off your life.
And I also get between 8 and 9 hours of sleep every night. And I take a 10 to 15 to 20-minute nap every day.
I do think the article you pointed out does bring up something else that we have to deal with, and that is there's this notion that you work yourself really hard, and then, when you retire in your 60s or whatever that person was thinking,
All bets are
you know,
off.
I basically have postponed my life until I retire. I'm going to save for later. I'm going to give up all of these youthful years because later it's going to be all worth it. And then we get there, or you get there, and I don't think people find what they thought it was going to be. And I
A
know
lot
there's,
of people get illnesses or they die or something happens and they can't enjoy it.
I'll give you the number because I was reading about something similar to this recently. 43% of people die within 5 years of retiring. So you know the Japanese concept of ikigai, Ikigai? Read it. It's all about having a purpose, a meaning in your life. And it doesn't need to be work. It can be anything.
By the
Um,
way, same with Navin Johnson.
Nave and Johnson, I've never seen somebody more excited to see the new phone book.
He had a
Yeah, his
purpose.
mother said he had a special purpose.
Right. That's where I was going. All right, we got to wrap up. We've been talking about this for a
Why were
while.
they shooting all the oil cans? They must have hated the oil cans.
He hates these cans. There's
That's
more
a big one.
cans.
For those who are not picking up on this, because that may have been obtuse, that was the jerk, Steve Martin, the jerk. What a crazy ass. Bernadette Peters was in that movie.
That she was.
Anyway, all right. Well, we've done that. We talked about May and we talked about December, quite literally and figuratively as well. So we
Exactly.
will be back next time with more smart drivel. Until then, I hope you
Don't
don't
count
need
your. Don't
Mayday
count. Where
points.
do you go first? Yes. Until then, what, John?
I hope none of you have to yell or call Mayday, Mayday, Mayday
And I would just say, count your spring chickens.
before they're hatched.
No, just count them.
All right, I'm going to count them.
Yeah, good. See, and just enjoy them in any way, form that you do.
Word.
Ciao, everyone.
Bye bye.